Some in the American left are publicly celebrating and endorsing Charlie Kirk's assassination. They should know that, based on China's history, political violence is a recipe for disaster. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Real quick, since YouTube is trying to suppress the show, join me in Operation Honeypot by leaving a honeypot emoji in the comments for the algorithm and to show YouTube we know they've got their sticky little fingers in China's honeypot. So social media in both the US and China has been even more toxic than usual in the wake of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk's death, which is actually kind of impressive. It's like saying drinking a gallon of bleach filled with barbed wire and grenades somehow became even more lethal. There have been thousands of people online cheering for Kirk's death, and some are even going further.
So the day after Charlie Kirk died, I was in class. My teacher said, I'll give you 5 minutes for hot takes about Charlie Kirk. I was the only person who raised their hand. I said, I've been saying we need to bring back political assassinations. I don't feel bad, and I don't think that everyone deserves the right to free speech. I think some people should be afraid to express their opinion in public.
Wait, did she just say she wants to bring back political assassinations? That's insane. If we bring anything back from the 60s, it should be go-go boots. The student you just heard from is Julia Shu from Oberlin University. And unfortunately, she's not alone. There are those who say that political violence is sometimes justified. And in America, those on the left are more likely to say it, which is horrifying. As I asked in a previous video I did on Charlie Kirk, have we not learned from communist history what happens when you start dehumanizing people and justifying political killings? That's how the CCP got into power. I say that as a warning, but for people like Shu, the CCP's rise to power was a good thing. In fact, Shu says that she was being taught that political violence liberated China.
So this class is literally about revolution in China. All of our readings for this month have been talking about how violent revolution liberated millions of people, it liberated women, and then our reading for that day was specifically about democratic dictatorship, where Mao writes about, yes, people deserve free speech, but there should not be free speech for reactionaries and imperialists and like capitalists and all these people who were enemies of the revolution, because that would reverse the progress that was made.
The amount of stupid just baffles me. And the fact she's paying to attend a class this stupid is a whole extra dimension of stupid in the idiot vortex. Who on earth is teaching that violent revolution liberates millions? Was this the professor? Whoever it is, Xi Van Fleet, a survivor of Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution, makes the interesting point that Shu's professor is teaching Maoism exactly as she was taught in China under Mao. Which goes to show that the US clearly needs to do a better job showing why communism sucks. Which isn't hard, I can do it in 2 seconds. Boom, there you go. It's not hard. Before I go on, if you like this kind of deep dive into what's really going on in China, you've got to subscribe to my premium website, ChinaUncensored.tv. That's where you'll see deep dive episodes and live streams we can't put on YouTube. China Uncensored relies on your support to continue, and buying a membership is the best way you can. It's just the price of a bag of coffee. Once again, that's ChinaUncensored.tv. So let's clear some things up. The CCP has not liberated millions. It has oppressed and killed millions, especially during Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution. Even nationalists who switched sides to support the CCP ended up slaughtered. And the CCP continues to oppress and kill to this day, which, and this may be hard for people in the idiot vortex to understand, is the opposite of liberation. Unless you mean getting liberated from being alive. Just look at how the CCP persecutes Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, Christians, and other groups. It also weaponizes forced organ harvesting. Liberating hearts from ribcage prisons. Cracks down on dissidents who so much as complain about legitimate issues like school bullying, silence dissidents abroad, uses rape as a form of torture, and somehow much more. But I only have so much lung capacity. Though I guess I could buy some forcibly harvested lungs from China. Chinese people lucky enough to not be beaten, harassed, kidnapped, harvested, or raped have to walk on eggshells every day to avoid saying or doing anything that would make the CCP and Chinese leader Xi Jinping look bad. Even presenting a dessert on your podcast isn't safe. All of this is possible for the CCP because of political violence. And guess what? Those who have embraced political violence in the CCP's China often end up being the victims of it. Because people willing to kill, it turns out, don't end up ruling as benevolent humanitarians. Take Ding Ling, one of the most popular 20th century feminist writers in China. She became an ardent communist who supported the CCP. And Mao Zedong himself received her with open arms. He even wrote a poem praising Ding that read, "A slender brush, who can compare 3,000 elite troops?" Someone this poetic and sweet surely isn't capable of doing something horrific I'm about to reveal in like 20 seconds, right? Ding edited for major CCP literary journals like Liberty and Art Gazette and People's Literature, both published by what we now know as the China Writers Association. But then she expressed disagreements with the CCP. Better not use that brain of yours under communists, otherwise it might get harvested. For that, she was labeled a rightist, expelled from the party, imprisoned for 5 years, and forced to spend 2 decades at a labor camp for re-education, which is crazy because getting an education to be a doctor only takes 11 to 15 years. She wasn't the only one. Red Guard Song Binbin, the symbol and poster child of Mao's bloody Cultural Revolution, also ended up a victim of her own political violence. In 1966, Song heeded Mao's call to turn on the intellectuals by leading a brutal attack on her school's principal, Bian Zhongyun. Bian was kicked and beaten with sticks spiked with nails. After passing out, she was thrown onto a garbage cart and left to die. This is believed to be the first killing of a teacher during the Cultural Revolution. School's out forever. For this, Mao publicly honored her in front of more than 1 million Red Guards. But the honor was very short-lived. Her father, Song Renqiong, was purged from the Communist Party in 1968, and Song and her mother were put under house arrest. And they were lucky they weren't put 6 feet under. There's also Lin Biao. He helped consolidate Mao's cult of personality as the brainchild behind Mao's Little Red Book, which in turn inflamed radicalization and widespread violence. Lin was set to be Mao's successor, but guess what? He ended up being too much of a threat to Mao, and so he met his untimely death. Are you noticing a pattern here? The CCP's history should serve as a warning. The very people promoting political violence will also be eaten by the very monster they create, often by people on their own side. One wrong move, and it's the end of them. And it starts with character assassination before assassination. The CCP did just that by labeling its enemies reactionaries, imperialists, landlords, capitalists, rightists, and more to justify violence. These days, the CCP more or less does the same by calling Hong Kong democracy advocates subversive agents of chaos. Because what's more chaotic than wanting to vote? Quick, tackle that Antichrist! Critics of China's human rights abuses are called anti-China racists, while victims of its bullying are labeled inciters. Unfortunately, many, not all, on the American left are adapting the same attitude as the CCP. If you don't perfectly align with their views, then you must be name-called, ostracized, and delegitimized, or worse. Some believe that even after death, your name must be dragged across the mud, your grave spat upon, and your loved ones attacked. I'd say this guy needs to touch grass, but it looks like he got thrown onto it. FAFO, as the kids say. Those who go so far as to cheer for political violence against Charlie Kirk say that it's okay to do violence if it's against people they claim to be racists, fascists, Nazis, transphobes, homophobes, xenophobes, misogynists, far right, people who promote hate and intolerance, and a gazillion more labels. And one has to ask if the mainstream media and celebrities are feeding into America's increasing embrace of political violence by calling Charlie Kirk a divisive provocateur or a white nationalist with far-right and bigoted views and inflammatory rhetoric, none of which is accurate. For the sake of the free world, I sincerely hope we stop entertaining political violence. For those of you who think it's okay, think more carefully. It's a deadly game you do not want to take part in for your own good. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching.